What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj. And right after Joel Embiid signed his awfully controversial 5-year, $148 million max contract with the 76ers, his Kansas teammate, Andrew Wiggins, signed a 5-year, $148 million max contract of his own. And man, I guess it's so funny how time flies that we're seeing these contracts on guys that it seems like they just got drafted yesterday. But besides the point, I think it seems like that more just for Embiid because we haven't seen him enough over these last few years. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that is a very established player. And while with my opinion on him being as it is, I'm not sure if he's really as great right now as people might think. The guy has definitely made a name for himself in the NBA, and now the Timberwolves had to make a decision here. And Andrew Wiggins is expecting that max money. We've known that for a while. Of course, when you take a look at the players that are getting paid, how they're getting paid in the NBA, some of the players that can land max contracts, Andrew Wiggins is thinking, look, I'm 22 years old, and I'm this good already. I averaged 24 points per game last year, and I'm 22 years old. I better get that max contract. I better get that $30 million for 5 years per season, obviously. And he did, of course, and it was very interesting because I think the Timberwolves were trying to figure out, what are we gonna do here? Are we gonna give you this deal, or are we gonna trade you? I think that was pretty much the only option, because if the Timberwolves don't want to give Andrew Wiggins a max contract, some other team sure as hell will, and there's no point in losing Wiggins for nothing in free agency. So you either gotta sign him to that big deal, which he's got to take because I believe he was a restricted free agent, should be, or you get rid of him, you trade him, and you get something back for him. And obviously the Timberwolves did end up giving him a big contract. Now, is this a risk? Well, it really depends on the future of Andrew Wiggins, and if these first couple years aren't any indication, it looks like he should be getting better as the seasons go on. Of course, only 22 years old, already putting up big-time numbers. He's a guy that, hopefully he doesn't get complacent with how much he's making and how many points he's putting up, that he forgets to put in work in other areas of his game, which is, of course, his big weakness. Yes, he can score the basketball, but besides that, there really isn't a lot else he's doing. Now, of course, he did up his rebounds and assists last year, but it was a pretty minimal incline. Of course, they're looking for those numbers to go up as well. And the big issue is his defensive ability, which was the biggest problem for him and just the Timberwolves team last season. And something that, if he's getting this money, his defense has to be better than it was last year. And I definitely do think that it will be. There's no excuse for why Andrew Wiggins shouldn't be an above average defensive player. He's extremely athletic. He can move with guards in this league. He's 6'8". He's got a good wingspan. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't be able to keep up, with guys like Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, etc., etc. Not saying he can lock down anybody or will be able to, but he's a guy that should be able to guard those guys. And yes, I know Jimmy Butler is going to be taking those responsibilities because he is that alpha defensive player on the team, of course. But, I'm just saying, Andrew Wiggins, when you look at how he's physically built, how he moves, he should potentially, be able to keep up with some of those really elite scorers. So, this is a guy that he still has a ton of upside he hasn't capitalized on yet, which is good for the Timberwolves because it means that this is a guy that can absolutely get better and that can absolutely give you your money's worth. So when it comes to this deal, I've been the type of guy that, it's so hard for me to call this guy a star player just because of the big holes in his game. Yes, he can score the basketball, but if you're going to take money like this, unless you are Kevin Durant Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant scoring the basketball. You gotta have something else that you can at least do a little bit. And we really haven't seen Andrew Wiggins as a playmaker, as a glass cleaner, as a defensive player. And, that's something they're going to need, especially with adding a lot of these players onto their team that are going to shoot shots, that are going to dribble the ball. They're going to take shots away from Wiggins. They're going to take, ball handling opportunities away from Andrew Wiggins. And these are two things that, are probably going to lead him to focusing on other areas of his game. Because now that Jimmy Butler's in Minnesota, Andrew Wiggins is now the third option for scoring. And they also have a point guard in Jeff Teague that is going to look to have the ball a decent amount. So you got guys that are already, they want the ball and they should have the ball. Everybody's got to get the ball a little bit, and Wiggins is going to get his shots. But the thing is that Andrew Wiggins, hopefully, with a less of an emphasis on him shooting, he'll, have more energy, have more motivation to be a better playmaker, a better defensive player, a better rebounder, and hopefully that's what that can turn into. Is this a really huge risk? Andrew Wiggins hasn't been injury prone in his first couple years. He's a 22-year-old averaging 24 points. He's a guy that's going to be on a playoff team for years to come, and he's going to be a key part of that. So, in my opinion, I don't really think so, unless the Wolves were planning on signing another star, another guy that's going to take a lot of money. There's not really any reason for me to think that this was a terrible move or such a risky move, although I do wonder how much are you going to have for Karl Anthony Towns next year. I assume that he's coming back. This is a guy that you absolutely cannot let get away from you, so I assume that the Timberwolves have done what they need to do to have enough money to bring back Karl Anthony Towns, because obviously they'd be idiots if they didn't do that, because that's the most important thing. There's no one more important to their franchise or even close than a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. He is the Timberwolves franchise player, and without him, their future is much, much more in question than it is right now, and it's not in question right now. This team is going to be good, guaranteed. So overall, yes, I do think that Wiggins has a long way to go before he can solidify himself as a legit NBA star, and when I say that, I really just mean he's got to become a pretty good defensive player, or at least a formidable defensive player, a guy that can hold his own, and maybe he doesn't make big defensive plays, but he's at least not a liability on defense. Maybe a guy that can shoot a little better from the field, even though, he doesn't shoot badly from the field. I'm just saying, with other guys taking shots, he should be getting better opportunities, maybe a little less of them, but still probably slightly better opportunities to score. And I want to see him, contribute more in other areas. But yeah, I don't really see any problem with this. If Cat's getting his money next year, if Wiggins gets his money now, and then you eventually make space to bring back Jimmy Butler. I don't remember exactly. I think it's like 2 years, and then you have to bring him back. It really shouldn't be a problem. This team is really well built, I think, for the future. And, this is something that it's a lot less risky than an Embiid deal, because the big difference between Wiggins and Embiid in terms of their contracts is Embiid has played 31 games in 3 seasons, and Andrew Wiggins, he's played a lot more than that, right? So, Andrew Wiggins has literally missed 1 game in his entire NBA career so far. He's been pretty healthy, so not really a risk here. Maybe look at the prospect of what would happen if we traded him? I don't know. He's a young player. It could turn out really bad for you because he could end up being something big, but, maybe you could have traded for something that fit better in your team system. I don't know, but I really don't have a problem with this. I think that this is fine. This is going to help them build for the future. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace. What do you think about this contract? Let me know down below in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.